A History of Southern Missouri and Northern Arkansas by William Monks, published in 1907, establishing a federal post at West Plains, and Lusk sees some Lopeared Dutch. Number 24. The army soon broke camp and moved southward. On arriving at West Plains, the Federal Army located a post there. Captain McNulty of the 1st Illinois Cavalry, who had been wounded in a battle with General Mulligan, was made provost marshal. The author was at once detailed and placed in the provost marshal's office as assistant, as he was well acquainted with all of the people in the surrounding country. The provost marshal would order the author to be seated in a conspicuous place in the office, and as a general order had gone forth from Curtis requiring all rebels and rebel sympathizers to come in and take the oath, and as hundreds of them were daily coming into the office for that purpose, the provost marshal ordered the author to watch every person who entered the office, and whenever any person entered who had been taking an active part in committing depredations, just to put his hand upon his forehead and move it down over his face, and he would order them to the guardhouse for further examination, without any further words being said at the time. Many of the rebels who were taking the oath couldn't see how he could draw a line between the different persons. Let some take the oath and be released at once, and others ordered to the guardhouse without a word being spoken. Among the persons who came in and took the oath and were released was the man who was present at the time Captain Forsey attempted to deliver the author to the mob, who asked the captain at the time to tie the author with his face to a tree and let him shoot him in the back of the head, to show him how he could spoil a black Republican's pate. The author remembers one incident that occurred during the stay at West Plains. A man named Lusk, who was constable of Howell Township and resided in West Plains, was a strong Union man at the beginning of the war. When the general order was made that every man who had been a Union man had to join the Confederate service and show his colors or be hung, Lusk enlisted in the Confederate Army and went out with McBride's command. 3 or 4 days after the capture of the author by the rebels, Lusk came up to him in a braggadocial manner and says, "You ought to have your black heart shot out of you." Lusk had taken the oath and been released before the author reached West Plains. The author met him in West Plains and remarked to him, "Hello, Lusk, how are you getting along? And what are you doing here?" He replied that he had taken the oath, that he was tired of fighting. The author asked him if he felt like he did when he wanted to shoot his black heart out. Lusk replied, "Captain, I am sorry for what I did, and Captain Emmons so maltreated me the other day that I could scarcely sit in my saddle." The author remarked to him, "I will just give your face 3 good slaps with my hand." After giving him 3 raps, the author let him pass. Lusk sees some lop-eared Dutch. Soon meeting Captain Emmons, who belonged to the 6th Missouri Cavalry, had asked him what the trouble was between him and Lusk. He said that while he was prisoner, Lusk came to him with this big knife belted around him, and said that he was just equal to 10 lop-eared Dutch, and he had that knife for the purpose of taking 10 Dutch scalps before he returned home, and otherwise abused him for being a Union man and a friend of the Dutch. On the arrival of the troops in West Plains, he inquired of the citizens if Lusk had returned home. They informed him that he had, and was residing on Spring Creek about 6 miles from town. About half of Emmons' company were Germans. He went immediately to his company, ordered the orderly sergeant to make detail of 10 men, and he wanted them all to be Germans. He ordered them to be mounted and ready for a scout at once. Taking charge of them in person, he proceeded to the house of Lusk about 6 miles west of West Plains at the head of Spring Creek, rode up to the house and hallooed. Lusk immediately came out into the yard and recognized Dr. Emmons and said, "Oh, Doctor, is that you? I'm proud to see you." The doctor said to him, "I'm proud to see you, too." The doctor at once informed him of what he had said to him when he was a prisoner in regard to being equal to 10 lop-eared Dutchmen, and how he had his knife prepared to take that number of scalps before he came back home, and wanted to know if he got the scalps before he came home. Lusk replied that if he killed a single Dutchman, he didn't know it, and that he got all of the fighting that he wanted. Didn't want to fight no more. The doctor wanted to know if he ever saw any lop-eared Dutch, and Lusk replied that he didn't know that he had. The doctor replied, "I have selected 10 of the smallest sized of the full stock, and I want you to step over the fence and view them." He then ordered the scouts to dismount and form in line. Lusk told the doctor he didn't want anything to do with them whatever. After they had formed a line, the doctor made him step in front and view them, asked him what he thought of them. He said, "They are good-looking men." The doctor said to him, "If you didn't get the chance when you were out in the service to fight 10 of them, and you say you didn't get any scalp, I have brought these 10 down and intend that you shall fight them." Lusk pleaded with the doctor that he didn't want to fight them, and for God's sake not to let them hurt him. Emmons said to him, "Why, Lusk, you said you were equal to 10 of them and intended to bring back 10 of their scalps, and there will be nothing now unfair about this fight. I intend to give you a fair show." He ordered Lusk to get his horse and get on to it and get ready to march. There were some 4-foot clapboards stacked up near Lusk's house, and Emmons ordered 6 of the Germans to get aboard apiece. They were all soon mounted and moving toward West Plains, soon coming to a horse and log. Emmons ordered them to dismount and form a line, placing the men about 10 paces from Lusk, then said to Lusk, "Now prepare yourself, and if you can whip these 10 lop-eared Dutch, I will let you go back home and give you a crowbar." Lusk pleaded pitifully to not let the Dutch abuse him. Emmons ordered the 6 who had the clapboards to move 1 pace in the rear, leaving 4 of the number to attack Lusk. He then ordered the 4 men to seize Lusk, take him to the horse and log, and take down his clothes. 2 of them were to take him by the hands and 2 by the legs, and buck him tight against the log. If they succeeded, the 6 would proceed 1 at a time and strike him 3 licks across that part of the body that he generally used for sitting on. He then turned to Lusk, saying, "Prepare to meet them. If you are a better man than they are, down them and pile them up." At the command of Captain Emmons, the 4 men advanced on Lusk, who did not attempt to move, seized him by the arms, led him to the log, bucked him over it, 2 holding him by the arms and 2 by the legs, ordered the 6 men to advance, 1 at a time, strike 3 licks with the flat side of the board, march on a few paces, and give room for the next. After the performance had been completely carried out as commanded, the captain declared that he could have heard Lusk hollowing a mile distant every time the clapboard hit him. After he had received the boarding, Emmons said that Lusk's setter was blistered where the boards had hit him, and that he never saw 10 Germans enjoy themselves as much in his life. He then asked Lusk in their presence how he felt now in regard to fighting lop-eared Dutch. Lusk declared that he had nothing against the Dutch and that he never would want to fight another one as long as he lived, and he hoped that Dr. Emmons would not let them do him any more harm. He dressed himself, they were all mounted, formed a line, and Lusk was brought into West Plains and took the oath under the promise that he never would find another lop-eared Dutchman.